Hello and welcome to the Zakariya Adeel podcast. I'm your humble host, Zakariya Adeel, and this week we have on Neil Briggs. I'm going to let him introduce himself because there is just so much that he's done. To me, I know him as a mortgage consultant and somebody who heads up a real estate company and a bunch of estate agents as well. But that just is scratching the surface. There's a lot more to this guy. So I would like you to find out from the beast himself. Neil, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Deal. Thank you very much for having me on. Yes, so my name is Neil Briggs, and in essence, I'm a property professional. So, do kind of everything property related, like you said, from qualified mortgage brokerage to commercial finance brokerage to real estate sales, real estate lettings, commercial sales, commercial lettings, and property developments and building and conversions, planning permission. So, the whole shebang, really, the whole property ecosystem is what I'm involved in.
And how did you get into that?
More by luck than judgment, really. So I was I used to be a cardboard box salesman, believe it or not. So I used to sell packaging for a living, and I was in my twenties, and I realised I knew far too much about cardboard, and looked at the guy that had been there for 20 years, and thought, I don't want to be that person that lives and breathes corrugated for a living. So I thought I need to change direction, and just by fortune, pure fortune, I applied for a job as a trainee mortgage advisor for what was Countrywide, Taylor's with the brand in Milton Keynes. And because I had a mortgage at 18, that inspired them on the application to get me in for an interview, and they gave me a chance. And from there, I've never looked back. And it's kind of all stemmed one thing for another, from owning my own property to buying several properties to then converting properties to then adding bedrooms to doing flips and all sorts, really. So yeah, it kind of just grows on naturally from a natural progression of starting somewhere and having a passion for it. Really, that's the key.
Without, I was going to say there would have been something more because lots of people start young, but they don't necessarily turn it into an ongoing business, and not everybody has ambition like that. So were you always quite ambitious then?
I've always liked to try and better myself and be the best version of who I could be. I did spend several years partying and being the best party animal I could be. But when I got into my 30s, I thought I better sort of sort my life out and sort of concentrate on doing other things, so setting up the business, doing it better on my own rather than working for somebody.
Mm.
And then again, just the natural progression. When you work in the property industry, you see the amount of money that can be made on doing some property transactions and doing some deals. And I've always want, if I see something that looks good, I think I'd like to have a bit of that, and I put myself to the test and have a go at it.
Mm. So as you're speaking about yourself, obviously my audience will know that I'm a Chinese astrologer, and I combine that with Western astrology, and I've written books and all that sort of stuff. So as you're speaking, I feel inclined to sort of discuss your chart in collaboration with what you're discussing here because it all makes
They
sense.
do.
I mean, your Chinese, you have the snake and your Taurus. So Taurus also equates to snake. Now snake is ambitious, and you basically got the double snake chart or the double Taurus chart. So they are business oriented, but they're also kind of introverted. Also, both of the signs are quite introverted. So they have a need for their own personal space, but yet they're ambitious. So what they do is they develop a way to become extroverted whilst working, and then they need to retreat to a cave. That they're quite hermit-like actually, but people might not realize that. Um, so so yeah, the ambition makes sense to me. The property transactions also make sense to me because snakes are that way oriented. And finance, of course. The majority of when I worked in finance, the majority of the bosses I've had have been snake signs, so that doesn't come as a big surprise. So what was your childhood like? And I'm going to ask you a little bit about your personal background. So what was your childhood like, and how did it shape you into who you are today?
So I'm really lucky. I have two loving parents that been together till my dad passed away a couple of years ago. Very supportive. My dad worked a lot, so he was not necessarily back. So my mum was kind of the prevalent one of having us back from school. But again, mum worked 3 days a week, so I had my nan as well. My dad's mum used to take us home from school. So I've got one older brother, just about a year and a bit older than me. So I've always had a good close family relationship. We all get on really well now. So I can't fault the upbringing I had in a very good, safe location in Newport Pagnell. So yeah, it's been a good upbringing for myself, and I've always had support from the parents when I tried to do anything. It didn't always work, but they'd always say pick yourself up, dust yourself down, and move on to the next thing that you're going to try.
Mm. Do you mind if I ask you what your brother's signs are? Just because I want to understand the sibling
Yeah,
dynamics.
Gary is 10th of January 1976. I think he's Dragon Sagittarius or Capricorn. I can't remember
No,
the.
no, he made it because it's January Capricorn. He made it the year before, so he's Rabbit Capricorn.
Okay, rabbit
Yeah, because
Capricorn.
if he was born in 75, he'd be a rabbit. But because Chinese year change was in Aquarius and he's Capricorn just
Okay,
before, he actually made it to rabbit. So he's a rabbit Capricorn.
yeah.
So again, rabbit Capricorns have a good work ethic. They're unusual. People don't always understand them. One second they love them, one second they hate them. It's because they don't understand them. They don't have a proper understanding of how these people function. Nicolas Cage, he's got that chart. You know how one second they love him, one second they hate him. So, but it's an unusual chart, but they have a good work ethic. So it seems like everybody in your family seem to have that trait, even with the
Yeah,
sign.
absolutely. So my dad was a bit entrepreneurial as well. He had a sign business. He put up signs for a living on buildings, and he figured out that he could put signs up, and his overheads were travelling to and from the site and screws and fixing. So it wasn't really a lot for him to put up. So he's got a good labour charge. Had quite a few guys working for him at some point. So
Mm.
yeah, he did quite well for himself.
Well, what
They
about
bought a
his
couple of
signs?
properties. Oh, my dad was January 19th as well, 1948. So
So he's a
he's
bull Capricorn, really similar
Capricorn.
to your brother. Astrologically, really
Yeah.
similar to your brother.
Yeah, my brother and my dad are very similar. So my brother's very handy, he's a gas engineer.
Yeah.
I'm more of a salesman than an engineer. I can do it, but I'm not as good at doing that kind of work. I'd rather pay someone to do the manual work stuff.
So rabbit Capricorns can be very creatively talented, but they would choose to do something more traditional, like electrician or plumber or gas engineer, as you're saying. It's just because they don't like the uncertainty. So they'll go for something that's with a certainty as opposed to putting their creative skills on the line, which is I find really interesting. I've seen it a few times. Whereas your sign is, it's a double earth, so it means there's a massive presence, but there's a quietness as well because of it being double snake. Um, okay, all right. So role models. Was your dad your role model, or did you have other role models as well?
I kind of didn't really have many roles. I think I had a solid parent upbringing, but I was a bit of a wild child from my teenage years. So I sort of went off the rails a little bit. And as I alluded to earlier, I got a mortgage when I was 18 because I was living at home with mum and dad, going out partying all the time. And they were like, well, you can't live like this under our roof, Neil. So you either need to move out, you need to look at renting or buying. And it was cheaper to buy than rent at the time. So I managed to get a one-bedroom ground floor masonette because I had a dog for £23,000. That was my first purchase
You're
back
making
in
yourself sound old now.
1995. Yeah, and then I could have bought a four-bedroom house. £40,000, but at the time I was baking bread for a living at Tesco. I was, oh no, that's just too much. I can't afford that. But in hindsight, it was probably everything happens for a reason. I think it was a good thing I didn't get the four-bedroom house because the people I was associating with at that time, I'd have had a four-bedroom house full of reprobates, and I probably would not be sitting here today talking to you in my position now. So the one-bedroom flat, even though I could have probably made more money in the long run, it was probably beneficial for me not to have more room for the people I was associating at that point in my life.
But did it stop you from partying, or did you carry on partying as well?
Yeah, going and partying. My it was the party pad. Everyone come to mine afterwards. So yeah, I tended not to drink as much as I was driving a lot to get out to the clubs and stuff, and then we'd all come back to mine.
Mm.
And yeah, long weekends. They're all distant memory now. I'm a father of two, so yeah, we had our works night out last week. It took me 2 days to recover, so I can't do it anymore.
But what made you change then? How did you shift from that?
I kind of had a bit of an epiphany in my life. I moved on from the one bed flat. I had a three-bedroom house, and I used to rent the rooms out to help with the pay the mortgage. That paid my mortgage and paid for my lifestyle. And I still had the business. I was still doing okay for myself, still doing mortgages. And then I kind of went through two cycles of growing up with
Oh,
friends
but
who then
Neil, when did that start? Because we've jumped a bit there. So let's come back to you're 18, you're living in the house, your one bedroom flat, sorry. And then when did you start the mortgage business?
so the it's 2001, I was qualified as a mortgage broker. So I went from baking bread at 18 to all sorts of jobs, flitting between jobs till I got into warehouse work, and then went from warehouse work into office work. Used to send human extraction equipment around Europe, and then got a job as a cardboard place for a couple of years. And then 2001, when I started doing mortgages. So that's where I started in the property sector. So I was born in 77, so that made me 24. Okay, so 2024 in 2001, qualified as a mortgage professional, working with an estate agency, winning awards, top broker. I kind of just took to it naturally. I was very good at selling the insurance policies on top of the mortgages, and yeah, got awards every year at Countrywide, and then got headhunted to a different company, and then sort of went self-employed for a little bit, and then went back into estate agencies, sort of flitted around a little bit. Um, I ended up having a self-employed position at Hart Estate Agents in the late 2009, then I was self-employed, so I chose my own hours. I used to start at 10 o'clock in the morning rather than 8:30 with all the rest of the team to um, for the morning meeting. But I was doing the business, I was doing the numbers, I was working late because I'd see the clients in the evening. I was quite happy to see clients every evening, so where I earned my money. And I would never work on Monday. I'd take Saturday and Sunday. Sorry, work a Saturday to Sunday and Monday off, and then they decided they wanted to make a super branch in Milton Keynes, and then my face didn't fit anymore, so they moved me to Northampton. This is 2010, and then from there, a friend of mine that was working in another branch thought, you know what, we can do this better ourselves. So we went to set up our own estate agency in 2010. We had an office in his wife's parents' business. We were decorated, and then last minute he pulled out, so I was left with half the money, which then my parents decided to back me for the other half, and we set up Inspired Sales and Lettings back in 2010. Had one guy working for me, I was doing the mortgages, he was doing the agency, and yeah, we kind of grew really rapidly. Got some sales people in, self-employed, which helped us rapidly grow the business, and took on lettings as well, and we kind of got it to a level where we had 2 offices at one point. Fast forward
So that was
to
what year? That was 2010, you said.
2010 we opened
Wow.
Inspired. So 2010. And so I'd
So you're about
gone from working
33
in
then.
agency, being self-employed in mortgages, but then working from home. I didn't really like working from home at that point because I was too many distractions for me.
Mm.
And the lead sources were gone. It's quite solitary working on your own sometimes. So I'm better in a team. I'm better around people. And yeah, so I went back in agency, which was good. It's good fun working in agency. And yeah, then setting up on my own in 2010. And we never really looked back from there. We've bought businesses since then, and kind of grown to a bit of a super beast.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. What about your education then? Um, did it play a significant role in
Yes,
your career or not really?
not really. I probably could have done much better. I look back, I regret not studying things like languages at school. Yeah, I love to speak Spanish and other languages, and I never really applied myself in a lot of them. I was always good at maths. I was terrible at English. I left school. Well, I finished my GCSEs with no, 4 C's, 2D's, and 3F's, and I did A levels for a year. And I retook English and I did physics to get 6 C's in the end. And then I did a year of A levels. I missed so much because I was bunking off school to go and work a shift at Tesco's where I was earning money because I liked earning money. And then I went back for my second year of A levels, and they said, "Well, you've missed so much of this year that you've got to do your first year and your second year." I was doing maths and physics, and it just wasn't me. It's the homework and stuff. I'm more of a doer. Once I've done something,
Mm,
I can do it and replicate it. But for me to then document it and show my workings, it's just I can do the numbers, I can do the maths, I can work stuff out, and it just wasn't me. So I thought, well, you
mm,
know what, I'll just go to work, and I got a job full time baking bread at Tesco's,
yeah,
which is how I got my mortgage, and which is how my parents said to me, "We don't want you living under our roof with your lifestyle. So if you want to live like that, you've got to move out," which made me
mm,
buy my own property.
yeah,
And that made me grow up fast. So the people around me
yeah,
changed because the guys I was still my friends that I grew up to school with were still at college, or they were just smoking pot in someone's bedroom and stuff. And I had a mortgage to pay, I had dog food to buy, I had different priorities. So I then
yeah.
naturally started hanging around with different people that were different work ethic, and yeah, your circle change really.
Do you regret not going to university?
Absolutely not.
Because I find obviously you and I are the same generation, but I find that a lot of because I did go to university and not I don't regret it. It was the right thing for me. But my friends who didn't go to university are earning far more than the majority of us that did. That I find
You know
very
what you do, isn't it? For me to have gone through A levels and then to gone to university, I'm I'm lucky I fell into what I love doing. So I love doing mortgage, I love doing property, and
mm,
I just fell into it really. So for you asked me what I wanted to do, I couldn't tell you until I started doing it. And I love developing properties. I love turning something horrible into something nice, and it pays well. And it's it's a good business model I've got. So I really enjoy doing what I do. Which if you find that in life, then it's not like work. You don't get you don't feel rubbish going to work Monday morning. You're kind of G'd up and ready to go. So find what you're passionate about, and it really does pay.
is that how you define success then? Or how do you define success?
Success quantifies different things to different people. For me, health and happiness are the main two things that I want. Success is me seeing my kids, happy, succeed, and my family being all right. Really, I have been successful. I would say I'm fairly successful anyway, but I'd give it all up for an instance to keep my health and keep the family together. There's a lot more important things in life than material things. It's nice, but at the end of the day, being miserable, being sad, and being stressed, which I've had a lot of stresses on recently. It's been putting a lot of pressure on me, and sometimes I'm thinking, maybe I don't need to take as much on, and maybe I need to take a bit of a step back and be around for the kids. But I'm fortunate. I have my kids 50-50, so the lifestyle I have and the way I run the business means that I can be around for my kids half the time. So I'm very lucky that to be in a position where I am, that I have my kids half the time and can be around for them, and also work and do the bits when I've not got them.
Was that a learning lesson? Did you have to learn how to balance that, or
Yeah.
because you strike me as a bit of a workaholic?
Yes, yeah. I mean, it's been peaks and troughs really. So recently, now they're older, they're 10 and 11. They're going to bed later. So before, when I had the kids, it'd be fine. I put them to bed 7, 8 o'clock, and I could do a bit more work in the evening. But now that's all gone because they're up all evening now. They go to bed at 9, but so they set it at 10. It's kind of getting the laptop out. It's just the day's gone. I haven't got that extra window to catch up on things. So
Mm,
that's been a bit of a learning curve. But I'm in a position now I don't necessarily need to be doing as much work because I've grafted for the years, and I've got a good setup behind me and a good sort of team below me that I can delegate to.
mm. What was a turning point in your career that elevated you to the next level?
Turning point for me was when I had the epiphany I just mentioned earlier. So when I kind of was hanging around with people, we were partying all the time, and like I say, I had 2 cycles of friends. We'd be out all the time partying, and then they sort of started settling down and met partners and started having families. That happened to me twice, and then after the second time of the guys that I was hanging around with started settling families, thinking, well, I really should, sort myself out here because haven't got anything real in my life. I've had the
Mm,
business, I had the properties, but realistically, it doesn't bring you long-term happiness and rewards. I want someone to, want to have a life to be able to share it with someone else, and the kids and the family. So that's kind of where I started to change how I prioritize things. So my health was priority, but a lot more. So I started running, started looking after myself, getting in shape, and um, yeah, and then sort of met a few partners, started dating a bit more. Before I was just single and just out enjoying my life, the single life partying, and so went through a few relationships, and eventually had the kids in 2013, 2014. Split with their mum a few years later, but again, equally, the people coming out of your life for reasons, don't they? So
yeah,
I'm grateful I've
yeah,
got
I do.
two beautiful children, and it's all good.
Okay, coming back to the work stuff again.
Mhm.
Have you ever made a decision that seemed like a failure at the time, but turned out to be a blessing in disguise?
That's a good question. Um, think I'm currently going through a few things which I think are failing, but then it could be a good thing in the long run, getting out of projects with workload. So yeah, there's a couple of projects I went to commit to which didn't come through with whatever reason with the contracts, and it's kind of, I don't like not finishing things and being incomplete. I've got a very successful mindset. I want to finish things from start to finish. But I've had a couple of projects which haven't got the planning, haven't gone through, which have been a bit of a failure. But now in the long run, looking at things, I'm grateful for that because I haven't got that extra added pressure to deal with it at the moment with all the other bits I'm doing.
Right. Do you want me to pull some cards on that? Pull some tarot cards for you to see what's happening there later at the end of the. If you're open to that, I'm happy to do that for you.
Yeah, why not? Why not? Let's have a look.
Okay. We'll come back to them. Um, how do you approach risk, especially in the volatile world of mortgages and real estate?
So my mindset has always been, what's the worst that can happen? I look at what I'm going to do, look at the opportunity, and think, well, what's the worst that will happen if it all goes wrong? And then as long as I can deal with that scenario in my head, I'll do it. So, I've got a few issues with planning permission on a few sites at the moment, which I might have to sell a few bits just to sort of balance the books. But I'll still have a good little portfolio underneath me if that does happen. So I kind of will always, I won't risk everything. I won't put everything on the line, but I'll kind of calculate in my head what is the worst that can happen, and can I get myself out of it? And that's the turning point, really, how I make my decisions.
That's really good, actually. I like that. I'm going to steal that.
Yeah, you
Or
have it. Yeah, it's good.
I'll borrow it from you.
Good, good
Uh,
way to move.
yeah, no, it is. It's really it is a good way to think about it because then then it also adjusts what you put down in the first place.
Mm, yeah.
Because if you can, if that's too much, then don't risk it. Risk what you can deal with the worst thing happening in that moment. So I quite like that. Okay. How has the property market evolved since you started, and how have you adapted to those changes?
The market has been through so many cycles. When I first started in the industry, the prices were shooting through the roof. When I first started in 2001, you could get a mid terrace house in Milton Keynes, like a Victorian terrace, for like £40,000, and then the prices were going up like 5, 10 grand a week. So you'd sell something, and then 4 weeks later, it'd be worth 20, almost double, because there was just so much demand for property, and that's when gazumping happened. So we saw that, and then we saw 100% lending. The lending market changed significantly. Used to give you next day remortgages, 125% lending. It was like the Wild West back in the pre 2010 to early 2000s. I kind of regret not making more moves back then, because I could have bought a lot more property. Just was too busy focused on working and didn't really think about it at the time. But it is what it is. And I think the property market has now evolved into a stable fixed asset class. I think the government are trying to stop people investing in it, because it is good way to protect your wealth through family and through sort of trusts and things, and through limited company setups. But they are not liking people to buy to let, and they're taxing it to the hilt and trying to put people off, and they're trying to get institutions to do it. So I think the government, or the powers that be, whether it's the government or the people that run the government behind the government, are like, own nothing and be happy. That's kind of the mantra. I think the New World Order want us to be
So
like
yeah.
all these Santander bikes. It's like
I'm really
we used to
glad
have
you
our
know
bikes. We
about
used to
that.
ride bikes and we'd own it. Now you've got to rent your bike or rent your scooter, and it's like, just own nothing, be happy. I think is what they
Neil, I'm
want.
so
Give us your
surprised
money.
you know about this. I'm so surprised about the World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab and all of that. I'm surprised.
Mm. No, I'm a well-learned man. I'm a
No,
well-learned man.
that doesn't surprise me at all. It's just that I'm surprised we haven't spoken about it before.
Again, I think sometimes you just have to keep your views to yourself when you're in work environments, things, don't you? But
Exactly.
yeah, there's the bigger things at play that we're never going to know about,
Yeah.
really. And all that COVID jab nonsense and stuff as well. I didn't take one vaccine. I had COVID. I was absolutely fine. Why would I want a unproven vaccine for something that I've had and I've recovered from?
So, in terms of what the government have just done, then, in terms of this budget, Keir Starmer's budget, so you've already said that it was supposed to put people off from buying properties, but then that would suggest that you think that by investing in property is still a good thing to do, despite
Yeah,
the tax
I
being
do.
taxed.
I think there's better ways to do it than just your standard buy to let. You can look at maybe some mixed use commercial stuff. There's lots of ways to do it, invest in property. But if you actually look at the way they changed the wording around the additional stamp duty, institutionalized investors are exempt from this additional 5%. So you look at what Lloyds Bank want to do. Lloyds Bank want to become the biggest landlord in the UK with residential. So they're trying to get all these big institutions to push out the little landlord. If I look at how our family has built wealth, our long-term wealth has been built through property. Not necessarily by judgment. My dad started buying apartments in the late 90s at 15, 20,000 pounds, which is now worth near £200,000. You've got that recurring income,
Wow.
and
Yeah.
the government are aware of it. I think they're aware that there's been a lot of tax evasion with people on buy to let, so they've kind of clamped down the way they've done the tax changes, and they're just trying to squeeze the landlord, because it's an easy vote win, isn't it?
Yeah. But then if we look at the World Economic Forum and the plans that they have, you can see you probably know that they're planning on bringing in even more things that are going to make it really hard for residential and buy to let buyers.
Ownership, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, ownership they're going to make it harder and harder. They're going to tax and going to bring in all this EPC stuff, which they've already started. But and you've seen that they've got these green mortgages, and this I don't know how you feel about the climate change, because I think it's a hoax. The whole climate change I think is a hoax, and
Yeah,
they're going to
massive
bring in
hoax.
these.
Absolute biggest scam in the world
Yeah,
ever.
absolutely.
I listen to quite a lot of Jordan Peterson, and I hear him talk about how you look at some of the data and the scientific data that's just completely ignored, and they're just trying to fearmonger. And the best thing to, in Jordan Peterson's words, the best thing to stop pollution in the planet is to get rid of poverty, and the best way to get rid of poverty is to make energy cheaper in the developing countries, because then as soon as they're not thinking about feeding their family, they start thinking about their environment around there, things will improve. And all this greenhouse gas nonsense has actually made the planet greener, but they don't talk to you about
Yes,
that. They
exactly.
just
It's
feed you
carbon
this
dioxide.
narrative of,
Carbon dioxide is a good
yeah,
thing for
it's,
the environment. It's not a bad thing. And the thing is,
yeah,
they use it to try and bring in this carbon tax, and the carbon tax is going to be directly connected to the mortgages as well, um, and um,
mm,
and and properties. So that's one of the plans that the World Economic Forum are going to bring in, and they're going to try and make it very, very non-lucrative for people to purchase properties. So that's one of my concerns. But do you think that, even that aside, it still be a good thing to invest in property? Well, it must be, because that's why they're trying to make it hard
it's never about investment, but they don't say wait to buy a property. You buy a property and wait. So that's how you make your money in property. And if you can get over the initial financial hurdle to get them, then I don't know anyone that's not really done well out of buying property. The odd people here or there have got their things burnt when they've bought at the peak and sold at the drop without had to for whatever reasons. But if you hold on long term, as long as the rent's covering the mortgage, and it's a good investment at the end of the day.
Mm,
As much as the government are trying to change it around, it's going to be worthwhile in the long run. And going back on the climate change, you look at what they're trying to do with this ULEZ nonsense. They're taxing you to the hilt
exactly.
for driving your car from
Yeah.
zone to zone. There's only so much the British people will take, and then they'll start to revolt. I
And
think.
I think we're nearly there, Neil. We're nearly there.
I think when you look at Brexit, they did not expect Brexit
No,
to go through, and I think that was a good thing. I voted for Brexit, and
so
I've
did I.
fully
But people
supported being
don't
independent.
tell many people that, but I voted for Brexit as well.
Yeah, and I think Trump is a good thing for the world economy. I think he's not a yes man. I think again, even the US are starting to see that actually, hold on a minute, we don't want. You look at what Biden's done for the last 4 or 5 years, however long it's been. He's done nothing,
No,
absolutely nothing.
no,
And
it's not him though. He's a
no, absolutely, he's
no
a puppet.
little. He's a yeah, and he's got dementia. He had dementia before he was even voted in. I mean, we
Yeah,
were trying to
exactly.
tell people
Perfect for the
not
powers that
listening.
be. Perfect for the powers
Exactly.
that be. Just
Yeah.
front man, put him out there and
And Kamala's the same. She
mumble
don't know
some
what she's
words.
doing. She doesn't have her ass on
No.
my elbow. But look, Trump was definitely the better option out of the two. But I'm not a fan of his either, really, if I'm honest. Uh,
But again, it's the lesser of two evils, isn't it?
he was the
It's
lesser
like,
of two evils for sure.
if you're looking at that country in itself, it's quite a sorry state of affairs. So that when Trump and Biden were the two best candidates to go up against to run what is supposed to be the free country of the world, you know what I mean? It's like
It
surely there's other
tells you
people that could
everything.
do that. Yeah,
Exactly.
but no one does want to do it. I think Trump is a real patriot. I think you've got to admire some of the. You don't got to agree with everything he does or says, but you've got to admire his qualities to actually fight for. He's trying to make America great. He's trying to push through and make things better.
I struggle with that though, Neil, because he, on the one hand, the tide has turned against Israel now, but his son-in-law is Jared Kushner, who is what is he? Is he related to Benjamin Netanyahu? I can't remember. I think he's related to him somehow. So he has um, Trump has a soft spot for Israel. Let's put it that way, and um, so I struggle to see how he's going to change things when he is just like a lot of the other world leaders that is just so connected to Israel, and a lot of these rules
You
that
look at you look at when Trump was in power. He created the Abraham Accords, didn't he? So he went around and tried to make peace for Israel, not necessarily with Palestine, but with Egypt, with the Q80s. He had that in place before Biden got in. Then obviously there was the attacks, and I think again, if you're looking at the big powers to be, the military. That's why they want the war in Russia, because they can sell arms. The
yeah,
only people that benefit from all this conflict is the weapon sales, and that's the big industry, which is what they're
yeah,
lobbying for. So they can sell more bullets, sell more bombs, and make more money, more billions of dollars from the governments around the world to pump into arms sales. It just
especially the
makes
deeper
the
state, the what do they call it, the secret governments in all these countries, because they're invested in the arms. The royal family in the UK, they're invested in the armaments as well, so they all benefit. War's good
I've recently
business.
had a change of concept on. I have to listen to a lot of podcasts. I don't necessarily listen to my news on mainstream. I listen to Joe Rogan, like Jordan Peterson.
I
There was
like
one
Joe
guy
Rogan.
talking to Joe Rogan saying about how Netanyahu has been saying about he wants to keep Hamas. He wants, he loves the conflict. They
They
really,
created Hamas. They created
yeah.
Hamas.
It's like their puppet to keep them to keep the foot on the people there, isn't it? So
Yeah.
that opened my eyes to Israel. I didn't really see it in that light before. So at
Israel
the end of the
funded
day,
Hamas into existence and have kept them there so they can keep the fights going.
yeah,
This is a very, there's that whole thing about even Klaus Schwab, there's the images of him like with puppet strings on the chessboard beneath. He's controlling both sides of the chessboard. So therefore, he's making this move so they can make that move. And in amongst that, they continue to benefit. So that's what's happening with Benjamin Netanyahu and Hamas because they funded them. It's like the British military that have trained all of these guys from Afghanistan and these Muslim countries. I'm Muslim myself, but they've trained these people and they're bringing them into the country on these boats. That's why they're coming in with no women. And if you ask them, they'll tell you we're military. And then you got to ask the question, why? Why are they here? Why have they been trained by our military and brought into this country? What's happening there? It's a valid question, but it's not being asked by many people.
yeah, you're
So
right. You're right. It's yeah. At the end of the day, there is a lot of bigger forces to play. All you got to try and do is live your life as you best you can afford accordingly, really, and don't listen to the bullshit.
for sure, for sure. So okay, how did you get into this sort of stuff, or were you always a bit this way?
I've always been skeptical about things. Going back to talking about arming the forces abroad. I read a book called the New Jackals, which is pre 2011. It was about Osama bin Laden and some others about how because the Americans actually trained them to fight Russia in I think it was the Chechen War in Afghanistan. So they trained all the people that actually bombed America. So if you're actually looking at stuff, it just opens your eyes really, having a different alternative viewpoint. I've never been mainstream in many of the things I do.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, I think
It's
now with the
probably why you've
internet and
been
now
successful, Neil.
possibly, and with the mainstream media just pumping garbage down your throat. I mean, my brother and I independently have come to the same opinions about stuff. So looking at some of the some of the biggest scams. I think it's like the food industry as well. The poisoning everyone with all this bloody fast food and the food pyramid and all this nonsense. Where actually, you eat high fatty foods, you eat good things, natural fresh food, and you're going to be all right. And people
Mm.
wonder why people are getting so ill. So I've been through two partners having cancer. I've been through my dad had cancer as well, and he used to always eat cereals and bread and stuff like that. It's just refined sugar, and at the end of the day, there's so much bad stuff out there. You've got to listen to your own self. You listen to your own body and make your own mind up on things. So
Mm.
I think with the long form media being very popular now with podcasts and alternative shows, and there's a lot of crazy stuff out there. I'm not a flat earther, but so there's a lot of people that think the Earth's flat. So I'm not. I don't agree with
We
that.
didn't go
But
that far.
no, I think there's still a lot of truth out there that that people just ignorance is bliss, isn't it? So if you're working your 9 to 5, you live paycheck to paycheck. You're looking at the horrible things on the news, it makes you feel like your life a bit better, and you don't mind carrying on paying your taxes. It's almost like the Matrix, isn't it? People are sort of stuck in their monotony of 9 to 5. I've been in that world, but I decided I want to break free and do my own thing. Helps wanting to be master of my own destiny, running my own business, making my own choices, and
Mm.
you make your own mind about things, don't you? Because you don't have anyone telling you what to do.
Do you have any rituals or habits that keep you grounded and focused?
I run a lot. So I go running. I try at least twice a week. Got a bit of a cough today, so I haven't run so far this week. I just do minimum 2 6 mile runs a week to clear my head. I do drink a lot of water, so I make sure I flush a lot of water through my system. So I have a pint before bed. I have 2 pints in the morning every day just to make sure I keep flushing the fluid through. Because I think water is life. We are 8 parts water in our body, so you could keep recycling that through.
Mm.
I kind of pick up things and drop off things. I was doing a lot of press ups. Got into press ups when I was on the way to Florida, but then it caused me a bad foot, so I stopped doing. No real rituals apart from just keeping my water, keeping fluid, and keeping hydrated and running. Really, the running gives me the headspace to think and to keep my head straight, and then the fluid just keeps. And I fast. I do intermittent fasting every day, so I don't
Oh, do
believe.
you?
No,
When's your eating window?
I don't tend to eat until 2 o'clock at the earliest. So today I've had a bit of a chest cold, so I ate something about 2:30. Not last weekend, the weekend before, I had no kids. I wasn't seeing them. I did a 3-day fast, 65-hour fast. So
Wow.
didn't eat from Thursday night.
I haven't managed that.
Yeah, it was really good for me actually. I felt day 2 I felt amazing. Day 3 I started struggling a little bit, and I think I lost a couple of kilos doing that, and sort of shredded a bit. But I felt really good.
Wow.
It reboots your immune system. So again, I did
Yeah,
a
I've
lot of
heard that.
research on fasting, and
Yeah.
looking at the benefits for it. Some people, oh, that's really bad for you, but
No,
the
no,
people
no.
that tell you it's
I'm
bad for you is the food industry.
yeah.
You must have breakfast, which is break fast. And if you actually look at how we've been living over the years, we're not designed to eat
No,
3 meals a day.
no, no, no. I don't need to have breakfast anymore. But then when my issue is when I do eat, I binge, especially for
Yeah.
carbs. That's my issue. But I recently I've lost weight. I did 2 weeks of keto for 2 weeks, and I was doing intermittent fasting as well. I lost like I don't know, like over a stone in those 2 weeks because a lot of it was water weight. And then what happened? Something happened. I went out for a Christmas meal, and I just had one carby thing like a pizza or something like that, and then the next day I just ate crisps and all kinds of stuff. So it throws me off. It throws me off. But
Yeah, it does. It does. But you need to mix it. You can't do it the same thing all the time. So you do have to mix it up. And I tend to eat when I've got the kids. I'll have a dinner or lunch and a dinner with the kids at the weekend, just so they can obviously see it's a family social thing, isn't it? And then when I haven't, I eat less. I work a lot, and then sort of grab something at 4 o'clock. Sometimes that's my only meal of the day. But yeah, I mean, I've always struggled with my weight up until starting fasting, and fasting has helped me maintain it at a good level. And yeah, I feel much better for it. So it gives me a lot of benefits as well. And people used to call me the Hulk because you give them a Snickers, I would get hangry because I used to eat all the time and the sugar when I was out partying all the time. But now I think, I can't. My diet used to be bacon rolls for breakfast or sausage egg and McMuffins and stuff on the way to work. But now I just have black coffee until the afternoon. You get used to it, your stomach shrinks, and you
mm,
kind of just run on different ways, don't you? So I think it's much better for me personally.
do you follow Dr. Berg?
I followed that to bit Eric Berg. Yeah, there's a few. When I started immerse myself into it, I did follow and read a lot about it, about how it kills diabetes and
Yeah.
and all that. But yeah, for me, it was maintaining the weight loss. I started doing 16/8, so starting eating at 1 o'clock and nothing after 9, and I lost over a stone doing that, and I just kept it up, and then I naturally changed what I was eating. So I was eating anything, burgers and pizzas or whatever during my eating window, and then naturally after eating less, my body just naturally craved healthy foods. I was eating vegetables and chicken salads and stuff. But I've kind of found my niche of chicken shish kebabs. So that's kind of my go-to meal. It's the chicken shish kebab because it's got your 5 a day, your protein, and there's not too much carbs in it with the wrap. So that's
So
kind of my
you have the pita bread
fallback
as well.
position. I have the bread, yeah, but I drink a lot. I like beer as well. So I like my neck oil. I like my ales. I like a beer every now and then. So kind of it depends where you are. I adjust socially. So if it's a family event, and then I'll eat a bit earlier. When I went to Rome, I had breakfast there just to keep the missus happy at the time. And it's just like she's like, "You better eat breakfast." Oh, so I had continental breakfast. I've stopped eating pork now. So yeah, because obviously I get a bit of indigestion from some of it, and obviously being my enemy sign as well, I kind of just avoid the pork.
Yeah, I'm very impressed by that. He's a snake sign. His opposite sign is the pig. Okay, just to clarify. But yeah, no, well, yeah, I'm really impressed by that. Good. I'm glad you read the book and remembered it.
Yeah. I didn't read the whole book. I read about my bit. That was
Well,
it.
yeah,
That
that's all
was
you
it.
need to read. That's all
Yeah.
Did I send you your individual chart though, or did I just send you you got the big book, haven't you? Did I send you
I've
your
got the big book.
specific
Yeah.
chart?
No, you sent me the big book. I just read.
I'll send you your chart as well.
Okay.
Okay. Family and relationships. How has your family influenced or supported your career journey? We've kind of touched on that already, but
Yeah, very very
elaborate if you can.
supportive, very supportive. Yeah, if anything's been lacking in my life, it's been my love life. I've always been unlucky in love. I've kind of never had a partner settle down with long term. I think longest relationship was like 6 years. So if anything, I'm lacking in my life. It's whether that's because I'm a workaholic and I wasn't focused on it in my party years. It's kind of you get to an age of my age, think, oh, are you ever going to settle down long term? Sometimes, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean. I go through my own things in my head, but for me, I was raised in quite a narcissistic family. So, do you know what CPTSD is? Complex post-traumatic stress disorder. It's like
Is it a form of
PTSD.
PTSD?
Sorry?
Okay, form of PSTD, is it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's a form of PTSD, but it's complex. So it's not the same as PTSD, but it's similar. So basically, I've learned that people who grow up in narcissistic families who aren't narcissists, it's like being shot with a million small little bullets as opposed to one massive bomb, which is PTSD. Complex PTSD is lots of small bullets that are constantly that you can't sort of escape from. Imagine a really negative environment and you're stuck in that environment. You can't get out, so you're getting battered all the time. So it's a complex problem, and that causes all kinds of self-esteem issues. So yeah, the reason why I'm mentioning this is that people who have CPTSD also struggle with getting relationships or sustaining relationships because they'll attract a certain type of toxic partner. So
Yeah.
I would, to those people, if anyone's watching this and they identify, please check out Pete Walker's book, CPTSD From Surviving to Thriving. Fantastic book. It really explains everything. Probably, I don't know if it's relevant to you. Probably isn't relevant to you, but I just thought I would say.
I don't think that's relevant to me. I mean, my life, I had a bit of a when I was 20, I lost all my close circle of friends within 1 week. My best friend I used to work with killed himself, and my other best mate and his missus died in a car crash within 5 days, and they were
Oh my
my
God.
close friends I've hung around with all the times. I went from having that close relationship with those people to kind of no one, and I threw myself into the party lifestyle for years and just didn't. I kind of took the fuck it. What's the worst can happen? The world could end tomorrow. I could die tomorrow. So
Mm,
I didn't care about things long term. I didn't care about. I took loans to go and sort of party, and I could die tomorrow. It doesn't matter if I've got this 10 grand loan. That's kind of my attitude, my mindset for several years, which is probably why I've been single for such a long time. And I think when you've been on your own for such a long time, it's difficult to mix with a partner because obviously you're kind of stuck in your own ways and you get sort of you're comfortable. I'm comfortable in my own space. I think that's partly it
mm.
as well. Yeah, I'm all right on my own. I don't need. It's nice having someone to share your life with, but I don't need it. It's just an added bonus, I suppose.
Did you read any of Jordan Peterson's books, The 12 Rules of Life and
No,
all that? Because he doesn't he talk about how you set up your life in such a way so that you can bring a family into the world and all that sort of stuff.
I've not read it, so I could.
Yeah, he's got two books. I bought them. I'm having a look at. I can see them now. I think I started 12 Rules, but I haven't finished it.
What
Um,
John Higson?
hmm? No, Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson.
Oh, Jordan Peterson. Sorry. No, I've read. I started to read 12 Rules for Life.
Mm.
But again, I've had other books I've been working through. I'm not a great reader per se. I'm better at audio
Did
version.
there's a audible version, isn't there?
Yeah. So I actually bought the hard book. So if I've bought the hard book, I won't buy the audio so I want to actually get through the book at some point, but it's just getting the time to do it. And
I just do both. I've got I used to, because I used to be such a reader. I've bought so many books, but these days I'll just find I won't read it because I'm too busy on the phone. So I'll find the audio and I'll listen to
mm,
the audio even though I've bought the book because it's a good book. I know I haven't finished it, but Jordan Peterson, when he first came out, he had great wisdom. I personally, this is a might be going too far with these conspiracy theories, but I think he's not the same creature anymore. When he went to Russia for his illness, for his addiction, and he came back, as soon as he came back, it wasn't the same person anymore. He started saying
right.
things that he would never have said before. And so I realized something was strange at that point. And all of a sudden, before he was making these videos of his work and sharing it with everybody. But then when he came back, all of a sudden his daughter gets him a podcast and all of this stuff. He starts working on The Wire. Just there were so many things that felt icky to me that did not feel like the original Jordan Peterson, who was just full of
It's all
integrity.
commercialized, isn't it, from there? So he's kind of getting his extra pound of flesh out of the
But
audience.
Neil, I don't think it's him. I just don't think it's him. And the same thing that happened with Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle,
Okay.
when he after he went in to see his producers, when he ran off to Africa when they gave him the $50 million contract, and he said no because he didn't want to be controlled, and he said they're trying to kill me, and so he ran off to Africa without telling even his wife. When he came back, he went on the Oprah show, and she encouraged him to go and speak to his producers. When he went in to see his producers, his cousin came. My intuition told me that it's not the same creature than when he came back because I wanted him to be in the cover of Ox Virgo. So I found his picture, and I got an artist to draw it. But I was like, this doesn't look like him. There was something very, very strange, and I had a horrible feeling in the pit of my stomach. And then very, very soon after that, his cousin came out and said that when he went in for that meeting and he came out, he was being cloned. It's not the same creature. And so I had that same feeling when Jordan Peterson came back that I had when I saw Dave Chappelle. So I don't think it's the same person anymore. So I like the books. I don't follow what he says anymore because I just don't think it's
Okay.
him. I,
Interesting.
probably a step too far with the conspiracy theories, but that's where I am. I'm not
No,
I'm
I
not
think some people. I think some people can change. They can have their head turned, can't they? And they
but
can
not
get to you
people.
one way or another, can't they?
But the thing is, the reason why they did that to those two is because their integrity was so intact that they wouldn't have sold out. So that's why they had to go to extreme lengths to get them on board. That's why I like those two people, because their integrity was so firm that nothing would have turned them. So, and then with Dave Chappelle, the other proof is the fact that when he was gone, they gave his sketches that he'd written for his third season of Chappelle Show to Key and Peele, to these two comedians, and Jordan Peele went on to make Get Out. In Get Out, there's a character who looks like Dave Chappelle, and he's being controlled, so he can't live on his own will. So there's a person, an entity inside of him that's controlling him. So I thought that was really, really interesting. And then it turns out the guy that made it used to work on Chappelle Show. So it's just a
Hiding it
bit
in plain sight. Hiding it in plain sight.
hiding in plain sight, as they always do. Yeah.
Mm.
But anyway, we'll leave them aside. I've got some quick fire questions now for you as we're heading to the end of this. Oh, but before I do that, I wanted to ask you, what advice would you give to your 18-year-old self then? When you were living by yourself, or maybe 17-year-old self, just before you did all that.
I wouldn't have listened at 17. I doubt I'd have listened much at 18. But any advice I would have given myself, apart from buy Bitcoin, which would have been useful, would be stop smoking. Stop smoking sooner than I did. I think that's the only regret I have is I smoked for many a years, and that was just absolute waste of health and life and time. I can't stand it now. I'm a keen runner, and it hurt my lungs last time I tried it. So if anything, I would have changed. It would have been convinced myself to stop smoking at a much younger age.
When did you stop?
In the 30s, the early 30s, just before I had the kids really, and started again for a little bit, but stop. I haven't smoked for many years, but
Do you still feel the repercussions of that? Do you think?
I don't think I feel it. I think I mean the last time I had a one lug of a cigarette was several years ago, and my lungs just hurt so much the next day because all the running I did. Why did I do that? I had one lug, and so I used to do that every day. Woke up in the morning, first thing to have a cigarette after I didn't have a cigarette, and yeah, I just don't regret stopping smoking. I regret smoking for as long as I did.
Hmm, okay. Well, I mean, okay. So if you're on your deathbed, what piece of advice would you leave to everybody then? Apart from not smoking, don't start smoking, don't do the smoking. What piece of advice would you leave everybody?
Yeah, I'm quite good for quotes. I think you miss 100% of the shots you never take. So just take a chance. You don't regret not trying. What's the worst that can happen? You fail. If you're sitting on your deathbed and you've never taken a risk, you've got so many regrets. But if you're actually giving it a go, and even if you messed up and it's
Mm,
gone wrong, at least you can live and tell the tale. And you've earned that experience. So that's what I'd say. Just give it a go. Whatever you're thinking, it can't be that bad. Just give it a try.
okay. Okay, quick fire questions.
So,
What's your favorite book or movie that inspires you?
favorite movie is actually The Matrix. I love that film, and my favorite book I never really seen to read was The Beach. I got into The Beach. That was a fantastic, good escape book. That got
Yeah.
me into reading books. Before that, I used to hate reading.
Mm. So The Matrix is less fiction and more documentary, really, isn't it?
And these days, yeah,
Are you an early bird or night owl?
night owl.
You've always been a night owl, I take it.
Always been a night owl. Yeah.
A property deal you'll never forget.
What's the like my first one bed to two bed flat conversion where I made 50 grand on a one bedroom dingy apartment in Fishermead. So that got me really kick-started.
If you weren't in real estate, what would you be doing?
Wasn't in real estate, what would I be doing? That's a really good question. Finance, probably.
No, but you're doing finance as well. That's a cheat. No. I don't take that. I won't accept that.
If I ever have a career change, I'd like to do coaching, like life coaching, or some sort of coaching, helping people. I enjoy helping people. Gives me a kick. So if I could help people succeed in their goals, that would be something I like to do.
Have you got the time for that though?
Maybe if I wasn't in real estate. So if I wasn't in real estate, I'd have the time.
Okay. One word to describe yourself.
Enigmatic.
Which is very snake, actually.
I would-
Yeah, it is. It is.
I've
Um,
run a lot of Enigma marathons as well. So
do Do you know, everywhere I go, it's Zodiac. When I go to gymnastics class, it's Zodiac gymnastics. When I go to the bar I go to, Zodiac bar. It's just everything. Everywhere I go, it's Zodiac, Zodiac this. Okay, we're done with my questions. But this was more enlightening for me than you can realize. Because there was so many things about you that I didn't know, and I'm really glad that we discussed them on this, and that we brought them out. So I don't think I'm going to look at you the same way now, Neil. I think I'm going to perceive you in a somewhat different way. But thank you very much for coming on and telling me about yourself and sharing these insights with me. In terms of just before we sort of wrap this up properly, I just wanted to ask you if there's is there anything about if somebody wanted to use the mortgages and use the real estate world to make money, to make a life out of themselves, what would you recommend for them?
It's hard to generalize it. So such everyone's situation is different. So everything we do is a bespoke solution. So if you want to make it, search on my videos, look at what I do, reach out. We can have a quick chat, see how we can maybe help you. Because what's right for you, a deal might not be right for the next man. So there's lots of ways you can do it by being a first time buyer, getting 100% mortgage, getting on the ladder that way, or refinance an existing property. So there's always a solution. There's always a way. You just got to ask the right questions and find the path to the right way.
Okay, cool. How can people get in touch with you if they wanted to find out about the real estate, or if they want to find out about mortgages? Is there a general number, or are they separate numbers?
I've got my website, neilbriggs.co.uk. You can find me on LinkedIn, Neil Briggs, Facebook, Neil Briggs, Milton Keynes. So yeah, I'm sure I'm quite easy to go. I'm not Neil Briggs, the rugby player. It's Neil Briggs, the property guy. So if you Google Neil Briggs, I'll come up and you'll find me eventually. You're probably on my website.
And the links will be in the description box as well, so you can find him there also. Thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you again next time on the Zakariya Adeel podcast. Thank you. Bye.